Should I get into their whole issue with the band member dead?
Yes, go for it.
Okay, so he joined the band, and they would perform almost... They're pretty much as satanic as you got when they had this guy. He would open up his veins on stage with a hunting knife or broken glass. They'd have pig heads on stage with them. So he's the vocalist. He did not get along with another fellow band member, Euronymous. So basically, they did not get along for so long that he eventually went kind of over the edge and committed suicide with a shotgun. His suicide note said, "I'm sorry about all the blood. I didn't want to use the shotgun in the house, but the knife was too dull." They, instead of actually immediately reporting this to the police and just kind of leaving the area, Euronymous went out to the local convenience store, bought a disposable camera, put the shotgun back into frame, took a picture, and that was their next album cover. One of the band members was really freaked out about it, so he left. Hellhammer, I think it was. But it actually got worse from there. They then decided that they wanted to try to eat the brains, so they started making a soup. But they realized the brains were sitting out for too long, so they didn't want to risk getting sick. So they decided against that one. But they did save pieces of his skull fragments and wore them as necklaces.
People. Yeah.
So that I don't know about you, but that kind of sounds a little satanic.
Yeah. Oh, no question. And the reality is there are groups like this out there. There are groups like the Norwegian band in question. There's the a Matamoros cult that was actually technically Palamayumba, which is, it's not voodoo or Santeria, but it's a related religion that was actually the leader of which, Adolfo Constanta Jesus, who we'll be getting into in a future episode in detail, was one of the bigger movers and shakers in the Mexican drug cartel once upon a time. He committed human sacrifice, he worshipped dark spirits, he practiced black magic.
Would actually kill people in ritualistic ways.
Oh yes, they kept their blood and brain and organs to speak to the spirits that he worked with. And it's argued by some that it was a scare tactic. But if you read the comments from members of his cult, they definitely believed there was something preternatural about this man. When he had one of his cult members shoot him and his gay lover, he said, and they repeated to the cops and sincerely believed that he would come back.
Correct me if I'm wrong, but some people are still afraid he's going to.
Wouldn't surprise me. They're still pretty certain that members of the cult are still active in Mexico City and other parts of Mexico in the drug trade. Because he was an incredibly powerful member of the cartel in his day. But again, we'll get into him down the road, because there's still one more type of Satanism we haven't talked about yet. And this is probably the least well-known of the three. So you have Satanism as atheism, in which one of the things it said is that there is no God. We can elevate ourselves to a point, our desires.
I am God, basically.
Yes, I am God. Well, there's I am God, but I'm going to follow these restrictions, because there are some restrictions on what you can do even as a member of the Church of Satan. Particularly, don't go around killing people. You'll get, if you tell the head of the church you're going to go commit murder, he'll report you to the cops.
Don't kill, don't rape.
The argument I saw one of their higher-ups make when we had him on the radio show way back when was, if the idea is a hedonistic pursuit of pleasure and an avoidance of pain, most people don't particularly enjoy going to prison. So that's one argument for not committing crimes. But the third type takes this idea that I am God to its complete conclusion, which is, I actually am God. I don't have to listen to man's law. Because I am God. I don't answer to man. I am better than man. I don't have to answer to God because I am God. Who would I be answering to? They don't worship demons. It's more the idea of making a deal, not necessarily as for their soul. They may do that. It's I'm going to do something for you, and you're going to give me what I want in return. They see what they're doing as more of an equal footing. These guys, it's pretty rare, but when you find them, are very scary. Because again, in their morality, they don't answer to anything. They can do anything they want because they are God. If you read one of the psychological profile of a psychopath or sociopath, particularly a psychopathic or sociopathic serial killer, what I just said should sound very familiar. Not all serial killers are Satanists, even of this sort, certainly. But there are a number of serial killers, including some of the worst in recent memory, that showed that if you listen to them talk, if you look at interviews that they gave, if you look at things that they did, things that they said, Richard Ramirez is, of course, probably the most obvious example because he openly has stated more than once that he's a Satanist. Ted Bundy, who's responsible for 30 or more murders of young women through brutal torture, said during his trial that sometimes he felt like a vampire. He said in the last interview he gave the night of his execution that he was one of the most evil sons of bitches that had ever lived. There is, of course, one of the more interesting examples, which would be David Berkowitz, the son of Sam. Most people know the basics of the story of this guy heard his neighbor's dog telling him to commit murders, went out and killed people. Berkowitz has since altered the story, claiming that Sam, the dog that was commanding him to commit murders, was actually a demon that he and a satanic cult had summoned. What's interesting about Berkowitz's case is the usual explanation when serial killers start talking like this is they're looking for a plea deal. They're looking to get out of prison. Berkowitz has consistently refused appeals. He's consistently said he deserves to be in prison. He's not looking for a way out. And since his conversion to Christianity in prison has become by all reports a model prisoner working with other prisoners to help them get their lives back on track. What's more disturbing about his claims is he also claimed there were more sons of Sam still out there now that were still committing murders. He claimed that he also claimed not all of the murders were his. Some of them were committed by other members of the cult. Although again, the man doesn't claim he isn't a murderer. He claims he's a murderer. There are a lot of other people like this. And again, it's this concept of I'm God. What you say doesn't matter. Which would be the third. So those are the three major types of Satanists. There are lots of distinctions in there. Like, obviously, there's Anton Lavey's church versus the Satanic Temple. There's lots of different versions of theistic Satanism or demonolatry, and true black magicians, which are the third type, are pretty much unique. Each one has its own way of doing things. There are common elements, but they're not necessarily going to be. They're not part of an organized cult because, again, they don't. If you don't answer to anybody, why do you need a cult?
Yeah.
Although, again, I'm sorry. Go ahead.
Unless you're forming it, and you see yourself as a god and them as a greater god.
And we'll be looking at that as well. I mean, down the road, we're going to be looking at various cults. Not necessarily exclusively satanic, but again, if you look at certain really monstrous cult leaders, the most obvious example being Jim Jones. Jones claimed to be God. He convinced all of those people to drink cyanide-laced Kool-Aid. Most of them did it willingly, some of them were shot. But he claimed to be God. His religious beliefs are a very complicated episode that, again, is an episode or a discussion, I should say, which is, again, an episode in its own right.
Is its own.
I think the Jonestown Massacre is its own thing aside from cults.
But
just because it's too big of a subject.
I think that's then time to wrap it up.
Well, actually, I was going somewhere else than Jonestown, though.
Oh.
Which was, okay, so another guy, we're going to wind up talking at length, I think, about his involvement or lack thereof with occultism and what his religious beliefs may or may not have been, because nobody really knows. But food for thought, they found something that was handed out to Hitler youth during the Second World War, written in the form of the Lord's Prayer in dedication to Adolf Hitler. But like I said, Hitler is possibly multiple episodes in his own right. Certainly the Nazis are. Do you have anything else to add?
No. I mean, without opening up too many other large topics now.
Yeah, that's the thing. It's such a broad topic. There's so many other things we can get into. I mean, we haven't even gotten into the Marquis de Sade or Aleister Crowley, both of which have a role in the history of Satanism.
No, notable Satanists should be its own.
Yeah.
So.
And it's fairly entertaining just how many famous people at one time or another were part of the Church of Satan all on its own, because it was the big thing back in during Hollywood in the 70s and 60s and 70s.
Not to mention, if you're going to look at notable Satanists, you obviously have to talk about Gil Ray.
Well, yes. Another very good example of my point about the psychopath mindset.
But that is enough for today.
Yes.
So.
Although, one last note I want to make, just because uncharacteristically for us, I don't want to quite leave this on a doom and gloom, paranoid fueled ending. The reality is, actual devil worship and black magic are not as common as some people think it is. It happens. It happens more than the naysayers would want us to believe. But the reality is the majority of people who claim to be Satanists are part of the Church of Satan. Mostly because the more serious forms of Satanism usually don't advertise.
Not to mention, please, I don't think anyone watching this is, but if you find someone's doing it, please politely correct them. Pagans and metalheads are not Satanists.
No, they're not.
You have some metalheads who are Satanists, but they're few and far between. Please stop.
Keep
People.
in mind, I would not have a Satanist as my co-host. I do have a metalhead as my co-host, and a pagan as my co-host, in point of fact.
Don't call a pagan a Satanist. They don't even believe in Satan. Come on.
Granted, there are some pagans that do, because there is actually Luciferianism, in which Lucifer is actually a god, and it's not actual devil worship. It's much stranger than that.
Yeah, but that's something. That is not.
It's hard to fall into absolutes in the subject, but the reality is most pagans are not Satanists. Most pagans are not violent. There's a lunatic fringe in paganism, just like there is in Christianity and Judaism and everything else. But the overwhelming majority, if you meet someone who says they're a pagan, they're probably talk to them. They're probably a nice person. Most of the ones I've met are.
Some of them might need a reality check. But...
Which brings us to next week's episode.
So that is a good time to sign on.
Well, actually, I was just going to do the quick teaser for next. Oh no, wait! There's two more things. One is a teaser for next week, and the other one's shameless plug for publicity and money. Call it what it is. But okay, so next week we're going to be talking about neo-paganism, what it actually is, how it's not Satanism. Because, well, I think most of the people watching this probably know better. It's still worth clarifying they're two different things. Just in case there's that one person who sees demonology. Oh! Granted, I doubt they're going to watch too many episodes after they see that, wait, we're not fundamentalist Christians. But we are, and of course, we're going to be talking about the actual history of the neo-pagan movement, which is probably going to tick some people off. But that's going to be history. Well, we'll talk about that next time. The last thing I want to touch on very quickly before we go, please like, comment, subscribe, share this with your friends. We're still trying to hit that 100 subscribers because we want that unique link. If we hit 50 subscribers, we've got a surprise coming up for you guys. I'm not going to talk about what it is because then it won't be a surprise.
It's a surprise to me. I don't even know what it is.
I'll fill you in after we cut off. I have figured out what to do. I think
what the surprise is.
Well, I've got two ideas, and I'll fill you in, and we'll figure it out once we hit 50. And I figured we'll do the other one for 50 and one for 100. The other thing I want to say is we have a GoFundMe up. The link should be appearing on the screen now. The reality is, folks, Drew and I work regular jobs. We need a decent camera. We've got a lot of very exciting interviews to do, particularly the Houdini Museum in Scranton, PA is giving us an interview. And we don't want to just do a Skype interview like we have. We want to try and get some footage of the museum, give you guys an idea of what's up there, for which we need an actual video camera, not just the webcams we're using currently. The Paranormal Museum in Asbury Park, New Jersey has agreed to give us an interview. Again, I want to show some of the stuff they have. We need a camera. If you can help, please do. If you don't have any money, we love you anyway. Please share the link. Maybe you know somebody who does. But at long last, I believe that's the end of it for tonight. Thanks everybody for watching, and have a good night.
Good night.